Well, now we'd like to talk with Mrs. Joanna Williams, a dear friend of the churches and a dear Christian woman who we know here and love at St. John. And she has been a member of this church for many years. I don't know, Ms. Williams, you know how many years?
Well, it's been more than 50. I came here, I heard Deacon Stone talk about Reverend L.H. Harper.
Right.
I came, he came to be the assistant pastor of the St. John Institutional Church, and I came from Pine Bluff and met them here. And that was in 1921. And then I finished high school here in 1923, and been married in 25.
All right. Now, am I correct? Are you related to Reverend Harper?
Only through marriage. Reverend L.H. Harper married my aunt.
Oh, I see.
My mother's sister.
And how was it that you came to Dallas? You came to live with them?
Yeah, I was living with them before I went to school in Pine Bluff. It was Branch Normal then, but it's University of Arkansas now.
I see. Right. And so, and they brought you to Dallas. Right. Now, I believe, did you stay for a while in the Institute?
I did. At the same time, well, they had the institution. They called it the old folks home kindergarten. They first had kindergarten on the first floor. And then they had place for the ladies to stay upstairs, they call it, on the third floor, because they had a kitchenette on the fourth floor, and more or less a dormitory upstairs. There were settlers that lived there.
So there's like young women who came to Dallas and a place to stay for them under the auspices of a Christian living. So it really was a social ministry that Dr. Harper had envisioned right in his mind, right? Well, that's fine. And so therefore you were right there at St. John. Now, was the church worshiping there in the Institute at that time, or were they still worshiping up on Cochran?
Well, they were worshiping in the Institute at that time, but they had the funeral and the baptismal services up on Cochran Street because they had no place for it. And the institution wasn't built, for baptism and so forth.
Now, would you tell us, you said you got married.
I had married in 25.
Right. Did Dr. Harper marry you?
No. I married Uncle Luke at that particular time was pastoring New Zion, which is just one block from St. John. And Reverend H.P. Patton, you remember him? Married us at that time.
Right. And so, did you find your husband in St. John, or was he at?
No, he was down at New Zion. And he joined St. John during the passage of Reverend Andrews, I believe, because Reverend Andrews ordained, no, he was already ordained deacon, but he started Sunday school work under Reverend Andrews.
Right. For those of you who may not know, when we're referring to, and she's talking about married, Mrs. Joanna Williams was married to the late Deacon Nathan Williams.
I was early before that.
Who served this church in a official capacity for many years, both as chairman of the deacon board and in the Sunday school and throughout the church. So that's whom we are talking about, that she met after she came to Dallas and married. Now, I know that you served the church as secretary and treasurer in various times. When did you begin that work at the church?
I don't know the year, but it was during the administration of Reverend Estelle. I don't know the year.
Right.
I first started out more or less as a financial secretary. And Mr. Harris, Melvin Harris, then was the treasurer.
Right.
And then I went from there on and on.
Oh, the responsibility got greater and greater, and you began to go. Well, that's fine. Now, you, after you came to Dallas, you did go into business accounting schools and things like that, right? So that you were capable, and we all know and served in that capacity. How did you get connected with the Sunday school?
My husband, well, I've always been a Sunday school student.
Is that right?
Sunday school, even back when I was in Magnolia, Arkansas,
All
the
right.
great city, great state, and the great city of Arkansas. I was a student of the Sunday school then there. And then when I went to school at Branch Normal, well, we still went to Sunday school. And then when I came here, it wasn't any problem.
Right, right. See, so how long have you been a teacher, a Sunday school teacher?
Lord.
Is that a shocking question?
Do you remember when I started teaching
Well,
Sunday school? I don't remember. All I know is
Who was your superintendent?
at that particular time. Well, I worked in the young people department, and Miss Melba Hooper was my superintendent at that time.
And
And
who was
then
the general?
following,
Was that she was the superintendent
she was of the young
people's department? And who was the general superintendent then?
At that particular time, I believe my husband was the general superintendent.
Stell's time.
Yeah, during Reverend Andrews' time.
Fine. Well, I know that you also have a son whom I know well, Luke Henry. He was named after Reverend Ellie Charper.
Yes, and then after my great-grandfather, the Henry part comes after my great-grandfather.
Right. Luke Williams, and of course he sings in the choir. But I remember also, I know some of them may not know, but that Miss Joanna used to sing in the choir herself. Would you like to tell them about your singing days here at St. John?
I used to sing what was known, sang in the, it's the gospel chorus now, but it was known as a missionary.
Mission chorus.
Mission chorus.
Right.
I sang in that, and then I was president of that for a while until I started working in the office, and then I had to resign most all of it.
And of course, she was not just a singer in the choir, but she was a soloist. I can remember one of the solos that you sang. Can you recall one of the solos? The leads that you did with the mission corps?
I can't. I know Mrs. Maureen Washington's mother.
Right.
We used to sing Whisper and Hope together. Maybe somebody, it's been such a long time since I sang.
All right, had a very pretty and a very fine voice in that. Well, I'm going to call Mrs. Roach in here, and we are going to just kind of share memories for a while.
Okay.
Things that we would like to, things that we remember and kind of myths about St. John. Not that we know things have to change, but there are things I want you to think about that you kind of miss, that you really liked about St. John at particular times that we don't do anymore. And let's see what we can do. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Mamie Roach to come and join us. All right, now we have Mrs. Mamie Roach has joined us, and Mrs. Roach was telling me that she used to be around St. John even when Dr. McPherson was there. She didn't join church though until after Dr. Harper came there. Let's find out where everybody was living at that during these years that we're talking about. Ms. Roach, where were you living? Which street, do you remember? State. You were living on State Street. Okay, so now we're still in the State Thomas area. Where were you living, Brother Stone?
Washington Avenue.
You were living on Washington. And
In that particular time, I was living on Allen Street.
You were living on Allen Street. So we've got these streets that in the near north, what we call North Dallas, now they call it the Thomas State Historical District. And so we were living around in that area. But that Deacon Stone was telling us that the streets were muddy. And
Very muddy.
Is that right, Ms. Rose?
The whole street, and then had a wagon
mules got bogged down and they had to be unhitched from the wagon so they could go through between the graveyards down there.
Oh.
Came on up to a pole. Thomas Avenue State.
Right. You couldn't even, so many that the wagon couldn't go,
Right.
would get bogged down on it. I see. Well, of course, I guess that was that area was the largest black area where the, was there another part of town where Negroes lived?
Listen. I
Oh,
don't think
yes,
so.
I think we had, I was reading where we had a mission station out in what was called Booker T. That, so that St. John was trying to extend, at least to get members and to serve people who lived there. That seemed like a long distance from us, and that is near what is now SMU, what they call it Booker T, and that was a black area in that area. So St. John was trying to service those people that lived in that area. You remember, describe how Dr. McPherson looked as far as Miss Roach. What looking man? Was he a tall man? Or
I did as long as I could make he was short, but taller than Reverend Scott.
Right. But stout or slender?
He was stout,
Not too heavy, I think so. That you did know his sister, Elnita. Did you have? Oh, his daughter. And Mrs. McPherson, what kind of person was she? I know ministers used to have wives who were musicians or something like that. And was she a musician? Was she a singer?
I've never known her to sing, but she was stout.
She was stout.
Like
She was stout, and at one time she was a school teacher.
Oh, I see. School teacher. Now, but his daughter did sing.
Yes, daughter, Almeida.
Well, I was just saying I wanted us to kind of think about things that you kind of liked and wished if you could capture, go back in time and capture something. You know, son, I think about it in Sunday church. Now, I know it can't be because the church is so much larger and it wouldn't work out that way. But I miss, you know, there was a time when the ushers would dismiss the congregation and people would they dismissed them row by row, and they walked out of the church that way. And so therefore you got a chance to see everybody. And now, of course, we can't do it. I know we had too long trying to march out that way, but I miss that. You know, I kind of miss that. Do you think of anything that you miss?
Well, I think of that since you spoke about that, but there was a time, I don't know, I forgot now whose administration, might have been Dr. Carver or Reverend Andrews, and we all went by the table. Usually there was an after offering, and you would go by and give your name, and we had an opportunity to see everybody at that time. We miss seeing everybody.
That's right. Anything you think about it?
Well, at the same time, during Dr. Harper's time, we would all come in the front door and go out the back door. Church. We was come down to the student church in the back, remember? We all have come by the table.
Right.
Nobody went out the front same door. And we take row by row. And we could see everybody as they would leave the sanctuary at that time.
Now, you were mentioning about the church being so crowded at night because people working on Sunday morning and that sort of thing like that. And of course, that was true. So, of course, we know that circumstances have changed now. We can hardly get out at night and that sort of thing. But I guess we do kind of miss that gathering at night. Anything else you remember?
But since you spoke about that, you know, we had to come to St. John early to get a seat. At night, especially at night.
Right.
And it was during World War II that many of the ladies cooked and did what we call in service. At that time, they were free. You know, they were free to come in the afternoon at night. So, of course, they didn't make the morning service.
Right.
But they would come at night.
Circumstances permitted them to do that. They used to ride streetcars.
Yeah.
Streetcars to church, huh?
Yes. Church. And then I remember, do you remember Mrs. X-Line King? You know, who would, elderly lady who would, what would she do, laugh most all the time?
Yes.
Yes, she would laugh when she get happy. And Mother Boyd would grunt when she would get happy. So we had those two, and Brother Skinner, you know, would always say, oh, he would come in and do, I'm ready today, whatever you start.
Right.
He's right there with us.
Right.
So we miss those.
So,
And then there was a Mrs. That lived in Oak Cliff. She and her brother would walk to St. John and go to Allen every Sunday.
she lived on, there's not Oak Cliff. Miss Earl.
No, not Miss Early. Miss Early came to church at night because she was the type of work that she had made her come at night. But this was Mrs.
Right.
Right. Yeah, Miss Wright. Miss Wright and Miss Wright.
Would walk from Oak Cliff
Oak Cliff,
to St. John.
St. John, every Sunday. Every Sunday.
Well, then,
And Mother X-Line King would walk from Queen City every Sunday.
all right. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the areas in which she's talking about, she's saying walking from, if you can think of, and of course, the area that she's talking about, the old cliff that where the blacks live there now, it's near where Golden Gate Baptist Church is now. That's the old Oak Cliff area. And she's talking about walking over to where the St. John was located at Allen and Gillard, which is now Allen and Woodall Rogers Freeway. So that's over to the Arts District where the Arts Magnet School, you can think of that, they walk from that distance to come to church every Sunday. And then this other area that she's referring to, it's Queen City, is in the area, I guess the easiest that I can, a landmark that I can give to you would be, it's bounded on Oakland, from Oakland to the I-75 freeway and between Metropolitan, along Metropolitan Avenue. So it's in the southern, in South Dallas, center of South Dallas, and they walk that distance over to
Between and Colonia.
right, in those Colonial Street. Okay, but where the high rise, you can say that area, where the high rise is, then they were walking from there up to past Ross Avenue. So that's some devotion to a church.
Oh, yes.
That is indeed. Well, listen, it's
And I used to hear Reverend Snell say this, that when Mother King would leave the church, gone from the church, Brother Boyd and Brother Skinner, he dreaded that there would be no more amens.
well, we have some more. Maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah.
maybe not as fervent, but we do have some more. Well,
But he had that feeling.
I picked up Miss Roach today to come to be with us, and Miss Roach has just recently moved from, where were you living, Miss Roach? You're living on Lucille, and now she's living out here in Oak Cliff or Vernon and DeWitt, a beautiful house she has, a location. So I was commenting how it was a lovely place. She says, oh, I don't like it. And I said, oh, you sound like my grandmother. See, she's been used to living over there, what we call North Dallas, and that has been a kind of uprooting for her. But, and I guess that was the way it was with some of us when the church moved over. You have that same kind of breathing, feeling.
I was working in the church when we were in Oak Cliff, and so I'd be sick of my husband, so he wouldn't have to drive me, bring me over here and go back, and then come and pick me up. We went 4 times a day. And so I was living on Washington.
Right.
At that time we had lived in Washington for 40 years. And then I came to Oak Cliff, Alaska.
But even, I think for those of us who had been over on Allen Street as a church, that we had the same kind of grief to leave that, even though we were coming to a larger facility, and all that Miss Roach is expressing when she left Lucille to come over here to Marsalis Avenue for this church. Well, listen, I know that our conversation has been most inspiring for me to hear some of it, and I know for those who will be listening who would need to know a little bit more about the love and devotion that you've expressed here in this church, and that so many who've gone on before. And this, our 111th year church anniversary, should be one that we will remember and realize that many that who have gone on before us have given a great deal, and that we'll continue to try to love and cherish this church as you've expressed here today. Thank you.